There's a difference between being discouraged and being defeated. Discouragement is something that we feel. Defeat happens when we allow discouragement to decide our next move.
Welcome to another episode of the Faithful Agent Podcast. I am super excited to have Jenifer Morin back with us, and we have a really good topic that Jen brought to us about self-sabotage. So you're going to want to tune in. But before we start, Cole, order way. There's a wrong way and there's an order way. What kind of joke do you have for me, buddy?
Well, I was popping a Lifesaver. You ever eat one of those Lifesaver mints before, Garrett?
Yeah, always.
Yeah. Did you hear about the guy who invented them?
Is this a Christian joke, or are we just not even doing the Christian part anymore?
No, I heard he made a mint.
I heard he made a mint. What does that mean?
He made mints. Jen, you got it, right?
Oh, money?
The guy who made Lifesavers. He made a mint.
He made a mint.
That's fun. Okay. All right. So listen. All right. I'm cool with those new rules. But I try to stay inside the lane of Christian jokes, and then you just come out with, have you ever had a mint before? All right,
you said I could do any dad joke, so that's a good
true.
dad
All
joke.
right, that's fair. Okay, all right, next week I'll have a better joke then. I haven't read this one before, so okay, this is terrifying. After worship one Sunday, a little boy told the pastor, "When I grow up, I'm going to give you some money." "Well, thank you," the pastor replied. "But why?" "Because my daddy says you're the poorest preacher we've ever had." That's pretty funny. I like that.
Oh, that is pretty good.
That's good. Yeah. If only he had a mint.
If only he had a
Right?
mint.
Whatever that.
Breath, and he was poor.
That's
Hey,
still-
listen, I quickly chat GPT this. The Clarence Crane, the inventor of Lifesavers, made only $2,900 when he sold the trademark and formula to his candy in 1913. It is argued it was the worst business in candy history.
Interesting.
There you go. That's a good start to a podcast.
Talk about self-sabotage. Let me transition us in. So, speaking of self-sabotage, Jenifer Morin is the Director of Operations and Career Development at Remax Gateway, one of the nation's leading Remax brokerages located in Northern Virginia. With more than 25 years of experience in commercial and residential real estate, she has spent her career supporting, coaching, and mentoring agents as they build businesses they are proud of. She's the author of Beyond the Sale, Unlocking Your Full Potential as a New Real Estate Agent, the creator of the Rookie Real Estate Agent blog, and was recognized as a 2026, is it RIS Media, I think, right? Real estate newsmaker in the influencer category. Jen, it is so much fun to have you back, and we're going to be talking about self-sabotage. So let me just jump in. And, Jen, you gave us this amazing layout for the episode, which I'm so thankful for. So let me just start right where you started. Agents getting in their own way. How is self-sabotage showing up in business right now, and why does it matter to our audience?
It matters because this is not an easy business, right? And partly, in part, I don't think people realize they are self-sabotaging themselves, right? So self-sabotage doesn't look like necessarily, it's hard. We self-sabotage ourselves because we try to blame outside forces. And we don't look internally, and we don't turn to the one who made us to look for solutions. We just want to blame, right? So some of the things that we talk about, why this matters, agents have a lot to deal with between the shifting markets, the interest rates, changing client behavior. I've seen a lot of that lately. I've heard about a lot of that lately. It's hard, and those are real challenges. But if we're honest, at times, that's not really what's holding us back. What's holding us back is ourselves.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we do and we don't realize we're doing.
So define for us real quick, Jen, when you say self-sabotage, what do you specifically mean so we have a working definition?
So this will be obstacles, things like fear, which keeps us from taking action, or comparison, which steals our confidence, control, which creates anxiety, perfectionism. Like these are all ways that we self-sabotage our careers is by focusing on these things.
So is it mindset issues with things that we can't control? Is that
A lot of it,
what you think?
a lot of it is that.
I know we're going to dive into it, right? But I'm thinking of like, self-sabotage. I mean, most of us would say we don't want to, but I would think all of us would admit like, we definitely sabotage sometimes, right? Whatever that is. When I was in high school, right, the common thing, or even in college, you'd be like, man, every time, they weren't talking to me, but like you'd have friends that, every time you were getting serious with a girl that you thought you might marry, like you would just ruin it on purpose. You'd get scared of what might happen. And so you would sabotage, that. And I think in business, what you're talking about here is getting in our own way, meaning, I remember there's a Dave Ramsey quote, and I'm not a Dave Ramsey fan. You are, Cole, so this will make you happy, buddy. So write this one down. He said, here's the problem, or he said, no, he said, you're the problem in your business, but you're also the solution, right? And that's really kind of what we're talking about today. So let's jump in because we, definitely in a challenging market. I agree with you. Cole and I talked about this, I don't know, Cole, last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever that episode came out, buddy. So sabotage number one, and we'll bring you in, Cole, here in a sec, but go ahead and talk on this, Jen. Focusing on the lack and comparison instead of stewardship. What does that mean, and why is that sabotage number one?
Well, agents sabotage themselves by focusing on what they don't have, right? I don't have enough leads. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough followers. I don't have enough confidence. I don't have the same opportunities as that agent. Oh, wait, that's where it brings in the comparison, right? And social media makes that so easy because you're seeing all the shiny objects. You're seeing the closing photos, the beautiful houses these agents are listing, their shiny awards. It just makes it so much harder to blame what we don't have and what we compare ourselves to than looking inside.
So
right?
is it like this? We've grown accustomed to a victim mentality. Do you think is it the reality of looking around and this assumption? I mean, I do think the industry sort of has this assumption that successful agents look like this, right? Here's this cookie cutter mold, and if you're not that personality type, or I'm sure you've done it, Jen, but how many people have talked to me about like, well, I'm an introvert, so I don't know that I'm going to be very good at this. I'm like, well, introverts a lot of times are better because you actually are consistent, but there's like this idea of what an agent looks like, Cole, English teacher, an agent looks like, and when they don't have it, they just like, well, I tried this, it didn't work, so I must not have what it takes to be successful. Is that what you hear people are telling themselves? Or is it literally that they just feel like they're behind because it looks like everyone on social media is crushing it, and then instead of being motivated to go catch them, it just feels defeating? Like, what do you think more of?
Completely. And the problem is that the comparison then pulls our attention away from what our assignment is, from what God has already placed in our hands.
Yeah, amen to that. I think it comes down to character and identity. They don't know who they are, and so they're trying to find themselves in someone else and try and be someone else. And then they fail, and then they think, oh, I'm just not good at this because fill in the blank. But it's like you were doing what Jen Morin was doing, not who, Cole Ordway was designed to be. Do you agree with that, Jen?
Correct. Completely. Completely. And then again, you're not focusing on what God has given you, right? Look at, in Luke chapter 16:10. I got Bible verses for you this time,
Nice.
Garrett.
I like it.
I did my research this time.
Girl.
Right? It's not that one. Yeah, but okay, so whoever can be trusted with very little can be trusted with much, right? You focus on what God has entrusted you with, not agent A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Comparison is the thief of joy, right?
What if the next level of success in your business has less to do with finding a better strategy and more to do with surrendering to God's?
That question is exactly why we're bringing the gathering to Northern Virginia on September 10th and 11th at the Dulles Airport Marriott. It's a 2-day experience to help believers in real estate grow not only in their business, but their faith, leadership, families, and impact.
Now, don't get us wrong. We are going deep on business. You'll learn from some of the top agents, leaders, and entrepreneurs in the industry, from lead generation, marketing, social media, systems, leadership, all of it.
But we're also going to wrestle with questions most business conferences never ask, like what would it actually look like to fully surrender your business to God? What happens when you stop building from pressure and start building from purpose?
What if the gifts and the calling God placed inside of you were meant for something far greater than just personal success?
That's the room we built. 2 days of practical business training, authentic community, powerful worship, prayer, and real conversations with people who get your heart and your work.
Because the goal was never just to build a bigger business. It's to build a life that glorifies God and a business that becomes an extension of that calling.
And right now, the first 50 people to register get 50% off.
So if God's been nudging you towards something more, don't wait. Grab your ticket today while the discount's still here. Go to thesaltyagent.com or click the link in the show notes.
Our prayer is that He fills that room with exactly the right people. We'd love for you to be one of them.
Can't wait to gather with you. All right, back to the show. Yeah. And it really is. It's interesting because I was having coffee with some past clients yesterday, and their 21-year-old son was going through some pretty hard things. But, they started talking about one of the challenges that he has and people in his age group have is they just assume their first job, they make $100K, right? Like they make what their parents made, and we've all heard that before. But I think that there's this struggle in the agent world too, right? You guys have, I'm sure, seen it, but I'll have agents say, I wish I could, sell as many homes as you do by referral. I'm like, you can. I've just been doing it for 12 and a half years. And so you totally can. There is no such thing as an overnight success, but social media or whatever would want us to think that it is. The band that's on stage at all the rock concerts Cole goes to, they did 10 years of garage shows before they made it, whatever, big time or got picked up or whatever the scenario is. And there's this, I think part of the comparison problem is we assume that if we aren't where someone else is, then we're just never going to get there. So we feel defeated, or it's like, well, if I don't have what they have, then I'm not going to be good at this. And it's like, man, you got to one step in front of the other. You build this one step at a time, and it takes a while. But how have you felt, Cole? If you don't mind, I'll put you on the spot, buddy, because you do really well with social media. So and I know you're on it some, but like when you are on social media, do you feel like that highlights and social media is not the problem. So let's also make sure we're not blaming something else.
Mm-hmm.
It is our own sin inside of us, right? Tempting us to say, I should have been like them. Lord, why didn't you make me like them? But how do you feel like that plays into your life, Cole? Hey, Christian agent, you already have a brokerage, but what if there was a better fit? One that cares not only about your commission check, but also your heart, your peace, and your presence at home. A brokerage that understands real success isn't just selling homes, it's pursuing excellence to the glory of God in every area of life. I'm looking for 10 high-producing Christian agents who are winning on paper, but feel the tension every day between being fully present at home and producing at work. Agents who are tired of building a business that costs them family dinners, spiritual alignment, and peace. Agents who know their business has become way too loud and they're ready for God to be louder. We're building a brokerage organization grounded in biblical values with proven systems to help you scale without burnout, time-saving strategies that protect your peace, world-class coaching, and direct support from me to help you grow the right way, not just the fast way. So if you're a high-performing agent who's succeeding, but knows there has to be a healthier, more sustainable path forward, this isn't a sales call. It's a 20-minute conversation of discernment to see whether this could be a better fit for where God might be leading you next. If this is resonating, don't ignore it. Go to faithfulagent.com and grab a time. That's faithfulagent.com and grab a time.
I think I always have that in the background of my head. Comparison is the thief of joy. And if you've ever posted something that is not part of your identity and then you get all funky about it, I've done that so many times. And that's when I realized, oh, that's not the agent I want to be. That's just the agent that I've seen. And so I try and if I'm going to post something, I'll put it through a filter of, is this finance, education, faith, or family? And then I've got other filters that will kind of protect so that it's part of my brand, but it's also part of like who I am. And I have in years past posted things even just said things, apart from social media, where it doesn't align with my brand, it doesn't align with my heart, and it doesn't align with the Lord's vision of my business or my life. And I get convicted pretty soon thereafter. If I'm not called out online by it, I'm called out by conviction, which is I'm thankful for.
I mean, even just, I'll confess, like even just on Monday, Shaylee, my executive assistant, and I, we were talking about, our social media for the week, and we were coming up with, these videos, and here's what the scripts are going to be. And there was just a moment I was like, but wait a minute, I want to be like as vulnerable and honest as I can, because this is true, but like, it's not the whole truth. I'm trying to show what's the best part as opposed to like what actually was going on and what was hard, right? Because we all have pride. We all have this idea of like, I want someone to see the best of me, which isn't inherently wrong, right? But like, I'm just going to tell them all the good things that happened instead of the bad things. Or when was the last time someone got on? And if someone did get on and they said, here was the thing that I did that was really dumb and I lost this client, whatever, someone would be like, man, I'm so glad someone's being honest about it, right? I remember when we had a couple kids at this point. A buddy of mine had his first kid, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, dude, yeah, the first 4 weeks of her life, we felt like we ruined our lives because it was so hard, right? Our oldest daughter, our first baby. And he was like, are you kidding me? I didn't know we could say that. Like, we know we didn't, but that's how we feel. And oh my gosh, I didn't know we were allowed to admit it, right? Like, there's so much of that going on. So I think even to your point, Jen, the comparison not only shows up in our minds and it seeps into our hearts, but we also don't talk about it because then, it's one of those things like, I don't feel like I can tell anyone. And then the neighbor next to me probably feels the exact same way, but doesn't feel like she or he can tell anyone either. Right. And so it's this like terrible cycle that we have going on. Let me jump to sabotage number 2 and you give us some insight on that. So sabotage number 1 was focusing on lack in comparison instead of stewardship. Sabotage number 2 is trying to control what only God can control. What does that mean?
We all do it every day.
Yeah. True that.
Do we not? Okay.
Yeah.
But in business, agents have enough to worry about. We spend too much energy and time trying to control things that we can't control, like interest rates.
Yeah.
Right? Inventory, buyer's decisions, seller motivation, timing, not getting selected by a client. We cannot control these things, and we spend so much time. And the sabotage happens when we pour all of our emotional energy into the stuff that we cannot control.
I've never done that, Cole, so you're going to have to speak,
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
It's what Stephen Covey says, right? Basically, I forget exactly how he said it, but the successful people will never operate out of their sphere of influence, right? Like I can't influence rates or what you said. I can't influence, whatever all the sellers that are on the market. So spending any time in an area that I have no influence over just doesn't make sense. But you're right. That's 100% what we end up doing. And then it just creates worry and anxiety and, feeds into the comparison game as well. I love that you said this, and I want your take, Cole, because you wrote, Jen wrote this. She said, we are responsible for obedience and action, not control of the outcome, which is 100% true. Cole, why do you think we spend so much time? Because it is true. We should focus on the input, right? You and I have talked about that, Cole. We are in charge of the input. He's the Lord of the output. I don't have anything to do with that, right? I mean, you need to be excellent in the input, so that is what we pursue. What do you think about that, Cole? Why do we spend so much time focused on the output?
I think because we try to be many gods. Personally, like we mentioned last week, most business owners have a sense of control and pride over their business. And a lot of the time, that's actually a good thing to create systems and structures and then manage all of those things. But eventually it just comes to a lack of surrender, and then we end up floundering, and then we're asking like, why, like, God, what are we doing? Why am I doing this? And you just start blaming others and all of those things. And so I think it comes down to pride and lack of control. Jen, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, totally. But why are we not seeking advice from God? And why are we carrying things that we weren't meant to carry? And that's what we should be taking taking our business in prayer.
Hmm.
Lord, why is this happening? Speak to God about it. Don't carry it. And that's what I see too many agents doing. They're carrying things they can't control.
Yeah,
And
and
then
another thing too,
Go
I
ahead,
think as agents, especially if you're surrounded by other agents or if you're on a cloud base, you've got other people that you can seek. I wrote down in my notes, how do we fix this? And I wrote, we give permission to let go of blank. So if we as agents in a team or in a company or a firm, whatever it is, hey, if you're the top producer, go up to that new agent and say, hey, I just want to let you know, it's really, really hard. It's really hard for me right now. And I know that it's even harder for you. How can I help you? And just to give permission to let it go and just allow space for that other agent to thrive.
That's good.
That's
Yeah.
good, Cole.
You're
is good.
basically confessing is what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's any confession.
And it's hard, what I've seen. So I've got 2 agents right now that I'm coaching one-on-one that I love, and they're amazing and really good agents, right? My first step in my process is to reduce, right? So what are the things we need to cut out? Because most of the stuff we're doing doesn't actually matter, but it's so hard to let those things go, right? Like, I don't know, it's stuff I've been doing. I know it probably doesn't matter, but like, I don't know. I don't want to let it go, right? There's a piece of it where you can almost will yourself to succeed by like, I control this and I control that, and I don't have a TC, like I do it myself because nobody's gonna do it as good as me, whatever, all these things. And we just like will ourselves to control and succeed. But then the reality is, not only is that unsustainable in business, that's the same way that we would operate in our life too, right? Like there's no way I'm gonna operate in business trying to be in control of everything and then go to my family life and not operate the exact same way. Of course I will, right? And none of these things, we've talked about before, but I'm always convicted when I read the way that Jesus taught us to pray. Give us this day our daily bread, right? And as entrepreneurs, my heart is like, well, give me at least a week's worth of bread, or like, let me buy the bread factory, right? That's what I really want to do. But Jesus says, you come back here and you say, give me my daily bread. And when he sent the apostles out 2 by 2, it's like, don't bring anything with you. I'm going to provide for you along the way. Now, I'm not saying we have that mindset all the time, but the reality is I do think that we believe that we are in control of what comes next, right? That if I do this, this is going to happen. And in the Lord's economy, yeah, if you put, this obedience in action, to use your words, Jen, into your lead generation, it probably does result in X, right? The Lord did create it that way. But at the same time, spending worry and energy around, well, when the rates come back, it's going to be amazing. Like, that's fine. What if they don't? Right? What if that never happens? What are you doing right now around your obedience and action that is just honoring to the Lord, right? Because you're trying to be excellent at what you do. It's a dangerous cycle. I posted this the other day. Actually, I found this quote. What y'all are talking about, Hunter Thompson. I have no idea who this guy is. He was an old journalist, but he said, "Pray to God, but row away from the rocks." And it's the same idea, like pray to God, but row away from the rocks. The Lord is the one who controls the output, but you got to row away from the rocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we got to do something. And
You
if
got to
we
do
just
your
sit
part.
there, you got to do your part. And if we just sit there, nothing's going to happen. I really want to tell that story again, Cole, of my not friend Meth, who said he wanted to get married and was just praying that a girl was going to show up to his room and tell him they're supposed to get married. Like, I wish I had that quote back then. Only God can control that. All right, so
Wait,
Jen,
Garrett, I want to tell you a story really quick.
Yeah,
I had
please
an
do.
agent at the beginning of this year tell me that she was going to quit because she was tired of depending on other people for her income.
Interesting.
You got to do the work. Like you're not necessarily depending on other people for your income. If that's your mindset, then you're never going to be successful.
Well, so let's dive into that, because I love that you use that word. I mean, it is a mindset thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the challenge of the industry is that, yeah, we are. I still believe that real estate, being a real estate agent, is like the single greatest entrepreneurial opportunity in America for 99% of people, right? Like I'm never going to go do whatever that my daughter calls him Leon Musk. I'm never going to be able to do what Leon Musk does, right? Like that's just not going to happen. But for the average person like me and Cole, just 2 dudes, right? They're like, I want to create a better living for my family and I'm willing to do the work. There is no better opportunity than real estate. And I think we all believe it's what, Jen, you know better. They say 87% failure rate. I think it's that the industry fails them more than they fail the industry, but a lot of it is because you get stuck in your own head. What your neighbor is doing bears zero on what you're supposed to do, right? And so we get stuck in our head, this mindset around, if I have to depend on other people, if I have to do this, if I do that, then I'm just going to get out. What is the mindset challenge, right? Or let me ask a better question. What mindset should they have, Jen, to rightly look at their business, recognize they're not in control of the output, only the input? What should the mindset be around that?
To keep going, to keep showing up. Those are the agents that are successful. If your client backed out on you, that's great. Move forward. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. And that's what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah.
Our sabotage number 3.
Yeah. Okay. Let's jump into that. Sabotage number 3, letting rejection become discouragement.
Rejection is a part of real estate, right? You're going to hear things like "not right now," or "we're going to wait. We're going to wait till the interest rates go down." We're never going to have it
for like 4 years. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
We're going to use my cousin's sister's aunt to sell our house, right? It's your friend next door. But here's the thing. Okay. Just because you're discouraged and you're rejected, which will lead to discouragement, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're in real estate. But here's the thing I want everybody to focus on. There's a difference between being discouraged and being defeated. Discouragement is something that we feel. Defeat happens when we allow discouragement to decide our next move. So let me give you an example on that.
Can you say that again before you give an example?
Okay, so there is a difference between being discouraged and defeated. Discouragement is something we feel. Defeat happens when we allow discouragement to decide our next move. So here's an example. I had a call yesterday with a potential recruit. She's a new agent at a brokerage. She's been there for about 4 months, and she did open houses for other agents, and no one showed up. And then she went to report her day to the agent that she did the open house for, and none of them thanked her for doing it. And she said, "Jen, I don't know that I want to do open houses anymore. I'm really discouraged. If that's how it's going to be, I'm not going to do them anymore." And I said, "No, you cannot let that defeat you. Open houses are a great source of lead generation for new agents." So she was letting that rejection and that discouragement defeat her. And you cannot do that in this industry, but we let it happen all the time.
So good. I feel like I'm always teaching my kids, when we say no and they don't get what they want, like, it's okay. I was just telling my son yesterday, it's okay, buddy, to be discouraged. It's not okay to then throw a fit and sin against God and mom and dad, right? Like, discouragement is okay. That's natural. That's going to happen. But then to go forth and make that decision, like you said, right? Make the choice based off discouragement. Be like, fine, then I'm going to quit. Well, that's not sometimes quitting is honoring, but in this scenario, it's not, right? Like, that's not honoring to the Lord to allow that emotion to then dictate what your next step is. Yeah, it's interesting. What do you think, Cole?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the word feelings, which I think Jen brought up a couple times. Same with you, Garrett, when you're talking about your kid. Feelings oftentimes are liars, right? And so the feelings, especially because we live in a sinful world, we've got the sinful nature inside of us. And so our feelings are probably projections of what is only a half truth or is just a complete lie. And so whether that's, from the enemy or just like an objective lie from our industry. And so, the agent that you're talking about, Jen, who says, "Hey, because no one showed up and because no one thanked me, therefore open houses are bad for business, or specifically bad for my business." And that's not necessarily true, right? Like, I've done 10 open houses and no one has shown up. And then on the 11th, 2 have, and then I sold 2 $500,000 houses from that, right? But it's that consistency and just recognizing that those feelings are a liar.
So sabotage number 3 was letting rejection become discouragement. And it is totally true. You got to have a backbone in this industry or it's not going to go very well. right? Like you're just going to lose a lot. Actually, I'll just say really quick. So I have this coaching group that I'm doing, and I've asked them to go qualify their database. And a week came back. It's like, how's it going? They're like, honestly, we haven't done it. Why? And they gave a bunch of reasons. And then I said, I think what you guys are actually saying is you're afraid of someone telling you no, they wouldn't use you. And they're like, yeah, that's totally, that's totally what it is. And I said, first of all, number one, that's okay, right? Because on the other side of rejection is the life that you're trying to build, right? There's enough people that are going to say yes. But number two is it's clarity for you. If they're in this context, right? If they're going to not support your business because their sister's an agent, whatever, don't you want to know before you spend time, energy, and money on them? Like this is only good for you, right? This is only positive. It's only moving you in the right direction. One of my favorite quotes of all time, Charles Kettering said, the only time you can't afford to fail is the last time you try. And that's totally true about rejection, right? All right. Sabotage number 4, staying busy, but avoiding the right work. Oof, that is a heavy hitter. Staying busy, but avoiding the right work. What does that mean, Jen?
This one hits hard because real estate agents have endless ways to feel busy. Right? Especially new agents. I'm going to go make that new logo. I'm going to play with my website. I'm going to design social media graphics. I'm going to do all this fun stuff, this busy work. But it's not what we're building our businesses with, right? Those things have value, but they don't replace our business building activities. The conversations, the follow-up, meeting people, scheduling appointments, relationship building. Business can become a hiding place. We can avoid hard conversations. We can avoid picking up the phone and calling people by saying, oh, no, today I need to tweak this or today I need to tweak that. But when we're avoiding work that feels uncomfortable, our businesses don't thrive.
That's so good. I think about telling my 6-year-old just a couple weeks ago, when I needed her to go up to the cashier instead of me. She was buying something with her own money and she was avoiding that practice. And I told her, listen, I don't care if you get the camel. I don't care at all. So if you want it, here's what you need to do. And she's like, yeah, but blah, 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 blah. And I said, listen, what is the worst thing that could happen? And she's like, I don't know. She could tell me I can't buy the camel. And I'm like, that's illogical. So that's not going to happen. And so, but just asking yourself as an agent, to the practical advice to a new agent, ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen? Number one, worst thing that can happen is probably maybe they don't like you, maybe they don't use you, or maybe they just yell at you. Okay, well, if you prepare for that, like Chris Voss often talks about preparing for that objection or meeting the objection head on, just prepare for that objection. If it doesn't happen, awesome. You already prepared for the worst. So now it's up from there.
Yeah. I think that what you said reminds me. So I'm reading this book right now called First Things First, and it's phenomenal. One of the things they said, or the author says, is ask, am I doing the right things before asking, am I doing things right? And that hit me. And it's exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, man, honestly, I feel like I do a pretty good job of staying pretty focused and highest and best use of time, right? But it's easy, even, 12 and a half years in, and I know you've done it longer than me, Jen, but and I'm pretty disciplined in that. It's so easy to find myself, wait a minute, I'm 30 minutes in. What am I doing on Canva? Why? That doesn't matter. It's not going to be much better. Just send it and go to the next thing, right? And you just, and exactly, you find yourself, I think that it goes back to the very beginning, right? Your sabotage 1, focusing on lack and comparison. I think that it's really easy, at least the agents I talk to, that will get stuck in that busy work, but it is almost I don't know how to classify it, but almost like a defense mechanism to be able to say, I don't know what's wrong. I'm doing all this work and I'm super busy. And so it can't be me, right? It's got to be that, rates are too high, or it's got to be that the market's weird or whatever, which those things are true, right? But it's like the reality is you sitting there just doing unnecessary work, exactly what you said, Jen. I'm coaching a brand new agent right now, and I got on a call with him, and he's like, hey, I'm building out my CRM right there. I was like, okay, cool. How many people did you contact in your database this week? He was like, well, none. I was like, bro, then you're doing the second thing. The first thing is go find business. Who cares? I didn't have a website for 2 years when I started, and I didn't know that it mattered. Like, I'm just out there making relationships. Who cares?
Yeah.
And I do think that it is, and I'm guilty of it, but it's really easy for us to focus on the wrong task, right? And anyways, I could keep going on that. I see you have something to say, Jen, so jump in there.
Being busy isn't the same as being productive.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have to ask yourself that question every day. What am I going to do today to be productive, not busy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a phone call with another agent friend of mine, and he said, "Hey,
You have
can I
friends?
just take?" Yeah, and it's another real estate agent, so
That's
maybe.
crazy.
But he had asked me. He said, "Hey, man, I just want to pick your brain. I know you've had a really great last couple of years. Can you just give me some advice on maybe what I'm doing wrong? I just feel, I think he actually even used the word, I'm feeling defeated." And so I'm like, all right, well, let's break this down. Like, tell me, how many hours a week are you working in real estate? And he's like, I don't know, 10 to 15. I'm like, oh, dude, you got to be working like 55 if you're feeling, you can't feel defeated at 15 hours. So then we talked about time blocking and how, but I'm like, 15 hours, dude, that can go by in a day. So, yeah, you're doing the right things. I agree, Garrett.
Yeah. So then let me just ask this for the sake of the listener. How do they then know, Jen, what are the right things?
What are the business building activities, right? You just talked about it. How many people have you called? How many appointments have you set up? How many houses have you gone to see? Those are the business building activities. The playing with your CRM and building social media posts are not necessarily business building activities.
Yeah, Jen, I'm curious about this. I've had quite a few real estate coaches challenge me on this. So I'm curious if you've ever done this and if it's good and honorable, whatever. Take a 2-week period. Let's say you work 40 hours each week, and then you do a time audit every 30 minutes or every 1 hour. And then you circle what actually is business activity procurement versus just a waste of time. So do you encourage, your agents that you train, Garrett, do you do as well? Tell me, how's that working out? And is that something that we should encourage our listeners to do?
I haven't encouraged my agents, but I am being coached now as well. So my coach actually had me do that. And it's very eye-opening to see how much time you spend on the non-business building activities. For me, it's the recruiting and the retention and all that, to see what I was playing with that I shouldn't have been. I wasn't making the calls. So yes, I highly recommend, even if it's just a week. She had me just do a week. Do a week, and every 30 minutes, write down exactly what you did those 30 minutes and do an audit. And you will be amazed. It's very eye-opening.
Yeah. And remember, Jen's using positive terms like you will be amazed. She's been doing this for how long, Jen? 25 years? Yeah,
you will be
going back to the first objection or whatever we were talking about.
Yeah.
How do we fix this? Jen is giving you permission and saying, hey, I've been doing this for 25 years and I did a time audit for 1 week and I didn't do that well. So be encouraged to your agent.
I mean, for sure. Definitely everybody that I coach, I do that. And like in the book I talk about, so I do a time and energy audit. Yeah. So, but mine's 3 days. So for 3 days, every 30 minutes, starting when you wake up, when you go to bed, write down what you did. And then, circle. First thing they're going to do is circle what actually moved the business forward. And that doesn't mean responding to emails or texts or whatever. Like, that's not producing new business. That's the result of the business. And so that's lead generation. That's, what it really is, only lead generation. Like, that's what it is. Now, hiring, maybe, if you're a team leader, bringing agents on, whatever, those move the business forward too. But what actually produces income, right? So that's the first one. And then I have them go through and rank their energy around that, not in a weird frou-frou way, right? But a plus if it's, man, this like podcasting fires me up. Even if I'm tired, I can come do it, right? But sitting there and being in a meeting drains me, right? Depending on what it is. So that's a negative. And so then it becomes, one of the ways that I tried to figure out what the right work was for me, Jen, to your point on sabotage number 4, was what are the things that actually just uniquely fire me up? Because that's evidence right there that the Lord made me that way. If Cole's, which he is really good on social media, I'm not, and I don't want to be there. And it's not that Cole chose to want to do that and chose to enjoy it, and I chose not to. He just does, and I don't. And that's okay, right? The uniqueness of how the Lord wired us, just pay attention attention to like what your energy level is around it. If it's draining you, then hey, maybe the Lord didn't make me to do this X, Y, and Z, fill in the gap. Don't let that stop there and give you permission to stop working. Then go figure out what does fire me up and let me go be excellent in the way the Lord created me. That's the right work, right? And now I'm going to go pursue those things. But yeah, I think a time audit is amazing and shocking. I've done it many times too, right? And I'm like, thinking I'm doing pretty good, and even like looking my wife in the face, like I know you're with the kids all day, all 5, and I'm sitting here like scrolling social media for 20 minutes. Sorry, what am I doing? And you just get caught doing that. And it's okay. There's forgiveness in those things, right? But I'm just going to say sabotage number 5 for the sake of time. I want us to wrap. But so sabotage number 5 is living in the past. So Jen, just give me a quick hitter on that one so we can hit on that, but then we'll wrap up.
Quick question for you. Did you get into real estate to create more freedom for yourself and for your family, to live a more faith-filled and purposeful life? Now, if that is true, and I believe it probably is, let me ask you this question. Do you feel like you're having to be on your phone almost around the clock? And do you feel like you oftentimes have to work weekends when you'd rather be at church or with your family? Or do you feel like you're constantly chasing attention on social media? Now, does all that feel like freedom? For many, it does not. The good news is this. The Homeowner Concierge is a simple platform that scales your referral relationships. It's not just dependent upon the relationships that you have, but the referral relationships that your preferred vendors have. Now, if you're interested again in having more referrals, so much that you don't have to live in scarcity, you can live in abundance, and you can have that freedom that you desired, I want you to go to proinsight.com/faithful. Like the Faithful Agent podcast. Again, it's proinsight.com/faithful. You're going to watch a quick video there. If what you see there resonates, you're going to schedule some time together, and I'll walk you through how we're helping real estate agents to, again, scale their referral relationships and finally get the freedom that you desire.
It's kind of like sabotage number 3, getting stuck in what has previously happened, which then will cause discouragement. But, some agents still make decisions today based on disappointments from yesterday, whether they're giving up on something, they stop taking risks, they avoid conversations, they assume the next client's going to be just as difficult as their past client, and then they carry fear from one season to the next. So stop that.
Yeah, just if we could virtually slap your hand, we just would, right?
Yes,
That's a
just
pretty effeminate way to do that, Cole. They're like, stop.
Yeah.
Go ahead, buddy. What do you want to say?
Well, I just was thinking as we were wrapping up, we at the Faithful Agent, as believers, want you, our listeners, to be at the top as a real estate agent. We want you to be the most successful in your area. We want the gospel to be shown. And so thinking about these self-sabotaging 5 things, why do we want this? Why do we want you to avoid these 5 things? Because we want you to be the top, carrying the torch and sharing the light at the top of the hill, sharing the gospel. So that's how I was thinking about wrapping up and why we're doing this.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's, the reality of self-sabotage, right? If I just try to break it down into its simplest form is, and I'll do this. We talk about things we don't like about ourselves or about our business or whatever the scenario is. It is literally, I think in its simplest form saying, Lord, I know you don't make mistakes. You created me with purpose and perfect intention. Nothing is outside. There's not a thing, R.C. Sproul used to always say before he passed, like, there's not a single molecule in the universe that is out of place. Not a single one. So therefore, there is nothing that is wrong about you. The Lord made you intentionally and perfectly in the way he created you. When we self-sabotage, it is looking at ourselves and saying, but that's not true. I actually think with everybody else, he was good, but with me, he got it wrong, right? And he got it wrong at this, and he got it wrong at that, and he got it wrong at that. And I think when we really just break it down to that is, who do we most esteem, ourselves and what we think is true, or in humility, the Lord and what he actually has said is true? And if we live by that, which, man, is impossible to do that day in and day out, but if we actually lived by that, wouldn't we stop sabotaging? Wouldn't we just keep saying, this is just a redirect from the Lord. It's a redirect from a good and loving Father. This is what he desires for me. I'm going to go pursue excellence now because I don't know, all of a sudden, Cole and I have talked about now all of a sudden I'm running a kids podcast. That's not what I expected to happen, but the Lord expected it to happen. And so he's redirected me in that way too, right? So man, I got to let go of something because he's pushing me there. Okay. All right, Lord, I just want to be redirected all day. But if we sit there and say, well, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not those, like you are exactly good enough for the life the Lord desires and has called you to. Exactly good enough, right? You're not better and you're not worse. You are exactly good enough. And we should take comfort in that truth, right? So, Jen, you wrote on here, and I just want you to share, you said to encourage agents to choose one area to reset and take one practical step forward. Tell me what that means, and we'll wrap up here.
Well, if any of these hit home, think about it. And then ask yourself why you're sabotaging yourself and how you can change it. Stop trying to control things that only God can control. Take your business to the Lord and ask him, show me what needs to change. Help me make that next step to be a better agent, be a better person.
That's good. And go find godly counsel. If you're in Northern Virginia, go to Remax and work with Jen. If you're in the boonies, go hang out with Cole and he'll help you.
Asheville, North Carolina.
If you're in Asheville, North Carolina, the boonies, go hang out with Cole and he'll help you. But find good godly counsel where it's not, lead generation advice is good, but it is someone counseling you in a deeper way to what Jen's talking about here, right? I think we all, and I love what you said, Cole, earlier, but I think we all can admit, like we self-sabotage too. It's easy, I think, to be on a podcast or somebody hear you on a show and be like, well, they've got it all figured out. That is completely untrue, right? It is the furthest thing from the truth. I don't make the mistakes necessarily that I used to make. I just make new ones. It's just different now, right? What Jen did 25 years ago, maybe you don't do it now, but you just make different ones. And so, we're all a work in progress. We're all trying to figure this out together. And ultimately, our heart is that we honor the Lord and the opportunity we have. That's all that we can do, right? So I love what you wrote here. I'm just going to read this. This is direct from Jen. Actually, before I do, Jen, how can they connect with you if they want to work with you, if they want to get your book? Tell them that. And then I'm going to wrap up with your closing thought you wrote out here.
So my book on Amazon, Beyond the Sale, Unlocking Your Full Potential as a New Real Estate Agent. I'm on Facebook. I've also got a rookiereagent.com blog, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook for that group as well. And if you really want to meet some other wonderful, amazing, faithful people, I think they should come to the gathering.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Well done. You pitched that for us. That was
the gathering. I will be there. I am so excited to be there.
Awesome.
That is where I met Garrett a couple years ago at one of these conferences.
It's true. Life-changing moment for you.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Totally.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate the pitch. That's amazing. Yeah, go check it out. Come meet her in person at the gathering. Grab the book for sure. And then if you're not a new agent, grab it for a new agent friend, right? They can never have, they need, I was going to say they can never have too much information. That's not true. But they need information, but they can pay for information, but they have to act for transformation, right? So they need to actually listen and do the work, but come be around other believers who can talk to you. If you feel like you're self-sabotaging, come in September to the gathering and hang out with Jen and be like, can I just be honest? It is one, and Cole's been in those rooms too. It is very refreshing to be able to say things that we all feel, right? That like, yeah, I get it, Cole, you're a sinner, dude. So am I. Yeah, it's hard. Like, let's just be really honest. It's the most vulnerable room I've ever been in, right? Every single time. And I'm excited for that. So yeah, great pitch, Jen. Go grab the book, go connect with her. If you're in Northern Virginia, you want to work with her, let me read this closing thought because I loved it, that this is what Jen wrote. And faithful agents, we love you. And we love you too, Jen. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
The market may be challenging, but sometimes the most important work starts with us. When agents stop blaming everything outside of themselves and start looking honestly at their habits, mindset, and faith, they begin to move forward with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Faithful agents, we love you. Go forward in peace, and we will see you next week. Hey, Christian Agent, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If it resonated, would you take 30 seconds and share it with another agent who's also trying to grow their business without losing their faith, family, or peace? That's how this message spreads. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes. I release new ones each Thursday to help you build success that actually lasts. It genuinely fires me up knowing this podcast is helping you pursue excellence to the glory of God, both at work and at home. I'll meet you back here next week for another episode of The Faithful Agent.